Mr Speaker, the security of a roof over one's head should be available to all Australians. Young people despair about whether they will ever afford a first home. Families struggle to meet rent payments, and older women are the fastest growing group subject to homelessness. I'm proud to say that Labor in government will create a $10 billion Housing Australia Future Fund with the annual investment return to build social and affordable housing and create thousands of jobs. Over the first 5 years, this will build around 20,000 social housing properties, places like the home I grew up in. Our home gave us so much more than somewhere to sleep. It gave my mum and I pride and dignity and security, and it gave me a future that led me here tonight. Our housing plan is good for jobs too. This initiative will create over 21,500 jobs each year, and 1 in 10 construction jobs created will be for apprentices. Last year, 10,000 mums and their children fleeing family violence were turned away from refuges because there wasn't a bed. Tonight, women's crisis services across Australia will have to tell women fleeing violence they literally have nowhere to house them. They will sleep in their car or go back to dangerous situations. Imagine the impact that has on children, on how they feel at school the next day. Imagine the emotional toll on a mother, desperate as mums do to keep their children safe, but unable to offer them more. We know this happens tonight because it happens each and every day. We can and we must do better. That's why 4,000 of the 20,000 social housing properties that we create from this funding will be allocated to women and children experiencing domestic and family violence and older women on low incomes. Yeah. We will also provide $100 million for crisis and transitional housing for these women at risk. We will build 10,000 affordable housing properties for frontline workers, the heroes of the pandemic, those nurses, police, emergency service workers and cleaners that are keeping us safe. Some of the worst housing standards in the world are endured by our First Nations people. As part of our commitment to closing the gap, the fund will provide $200 million for the repair, maintenance and improvements of housing in remote Indigenous communities. And 2 weeks after our country stood together on Anzac Day to declare Lest We Forget, 1 in 10 of the people who will sleep rough on the streets in Sydney tonight is a veteran. 1 in 10. Australia must do more to care for the brave men and women who have worn our uniform. This fund will provide $30 million over the first 5 years to build more supportive housing and fund specialist services for veterans who are either living or at risk of homelessness. Mr Speaker, this is a future fund that will give more Australians a future. Hear, hear.